of darkness, but rather expose them.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
After 1989, President Bush said, and it's a phrase that I often use myself, that we needed a new world order.
That the affirmative task we have now is to actually create a new world order.
I think you need a new world order, that China has to be part of the process of creating it, and they have to buy in, they have to own it.
The reality is, the New World Order is a sinister agenda being championed by the so-called elites and globalists who were driven by a morbid psychopathic impulsion to seize control over the nations and bring it under the rulership of Lucifer.
A world order, to be clear, because they're not going to tell you the truth, what they mean by world order. A world order is the euphemism for a pre-planned dictatorship, global dictatorship. That's a world order. It is an order of things planned by certain people about the way life should be from their dream, their own plan, and they enforce it.
In February 15, 1950, at the Council on Foreign Relations, James Warburg said, and I quote, "We shall have a one-world government, whether or not you like it, by conquest or consent."
So this is what's happening, this is what they're rehearsing, the totalitarian regime for the whole world. Their plan is orchestration of disasters. And what they want to do is force their totalitarian government, world government, so that because they want to take advantage of crisis.
Mr. Speaker, President Bush Sr. proudly spoke of the New World Order, a term used by those who promote one world government under the United Nations. In going to war in 1991, he sought and received UN authority to push Iraqi forces out of Kuwait. The first Persian Gulf War, therefore, was clearly a UN political war fought within UN guidelines, not for U.S. security, and it was not fought through to victory. The bombing, sanctions, and harassment of the Iraqi people have never stopped. I have argued for years against our membership in the United Nations because it compromises our sovereignty. I contend that membership in the United Nations has led to impractical military conflicts that were highly costly both in lives and dollars, and that were rarely resolved.
Through wars and other forms of concocted conflicts, the proponents of the New World Order have employed the use of the Hegelian dialectic model in attempting to forcefully launch a one-world government on an unsuspecting world.
Georg Hegel was a German philosopher who came up with a basic system for achieving the goals of the globalists called the Hegelian dialectic.
This system is based on 3 steps. In step 1, a rogue government will create the problem that harms or even kills its own citizens. This deception is known as a false flag attack. In step 2, a rogue government will control the reaction to the problem which it created by typically blaming it on an enemy or some aspect of its own society over which it seeks more control. This is why the term false flag attack is so named. In step 3, a rogue government will offer the solution to the problem which it created. This solution is typically a war or a system of regulations. The solution would usually not be accepted by the public had the rogue government not created the crisis and controlled the reaction to it in the first place. A government which seeks increasing control can keep pushing society to accept its agenda by following a series of problems, reactions, and solutions which it planned all along.
There is no question that there will be a challenge, the coming administration, in the arena of infectious diseases, both chronic infectious diseases in the sense of already ongoing disease, and we have certainly a large burden of that, but also there will be a surprise outbreak.
In recent times, the propounders of this idea have made yet another attempt at seizing total dominance over the world. Still adopting the Hegelian dialectic model, they created a problem, modeled the reaction of the world, and proposed a solution. This time, the problem they created was a pandemic. And from the illuminating teachings of the man of God, the ultimate goal of this pandemic was the establishment of the New World Order.
Don't think that what is going on has anything to do with a virus. And I'm serious. It's not a virus. It's not a virus. The world has chosen to be deceived, as they have been deceived many times before.
Nothing sells like fear is the motto of top virologists like Mark van Ranst. Belgian top virologist Mark van Ranst gave on January 22, 2019 at the Chatham House, a major non-profit organization in London, where important world leaders meet to discuss global issues. Winners of the Chatham House Prize include Hillary Clinton, Melinda Gates and John Kerry. What Van Ranst is discussing is simply shocking.
Thank you very much, Ab. Thanks for the invitation. And I was asked to tell you about my experiences being the crisis manager, the flu commissioner for Belgium, and highlighting the communication aspects there. These are some of my conflicts of interest over the past 20 years, I guess. It all started for me at that time, well, actually in 2006 when I was appointed. This is an unpaid hobby, so it's not a profession or a function, whatever. It's really a hobby, that flu commissioner thing. On April 24, 2009, that was when WHO said, okay, there will be a pandemic, and that's when the thing started. And then you have one opportunity to do it right. I mean, day one is so important. In day one, you start your communication with the press, with the people, and you have to do it right. I mean, you have to go for one voice, one message. In Belgium, they chose to appoint a non-politician to do that. I mean, I have no party affiliations, and that makes things a little bit, at that time at least, a little bit easier, because you're not attacked politically, majority, minority. That doesn't come into play, and that was a huge advantage. The second advantage is that you can play in Brussels the complete naive guy and get a lot more done than you would otherwise be able to do. You have to be omnipresent that first day or the first days, so that you attract the media attention. You make an agreement with them that you will tell them all, and if they call, you will pick up the phone. When you do that, then you can profit from these early days to get complete carpet coverage of the field, and they're not going to search for alternative voices there. And if you do that, that makes things a lot easier. These first weeks, that's easy street. When you have no opposition and everybody needs news and they can come to you for news, you can bring quite a lot of neutral information, and it is picked up, and it is well, the news is brought the way you bring it, and that is you can only do that in the first couple of weeks or months. And then you have to say, okay, well, we will have H1N1 deaths. Of course, that would be unavoidable. I used there Sir Donaldson's quote, where he said that in the UK, by the peak of the epidemic, 40 people would die per day at the end of the summer. So 62 at that time million people in the UK, 40 deaths a day. I worked it out for Belgium. That would be 7 deaths a day at the peak of the epidemic. I used that in the media. 7 Belgian flu deaths per day at the peak of the epidemic would be realistic. That is true in every year, even interpandemically. That is very, very conservative. However, talking about fatalities is important, because when you say that, people say, wow, what do you mean? People die because of influenza? And that was a necessary step to take. And then, of course, a couple of days later, you had the first H1N1 death in the country, and the scene was set and it was already talked about. And then you had to pick who is going to be vaccinated first. And then, well, women and children first, whatever. I mean, risk groups, they were important. And then I misused the fact that the top football soccer clubs in Belgium inappropriately and against all agreements vaccinated they made their soccer players priority people. So I said I can use that, because if the population really believes that this vaccine is so desirable that even the soccer players would be dishonest to get their vaccine, I said, okay, I can play with that. So I made a big fuss about this. This is Van Ranst is raving mad, but it worked.
The Chatham House organization is also funded by all major corporations of the elite, the Gates Foundation and the Open Society Foundations.
The spread of infectious diseases has a unique ability to fuel fear, anxiety, and mass hysteria, says Klaus Schwab. In the year 2020, this same strategy was employed in putting the world at a standstill, as fear-inducing news reports pervaded the airwaves.
What's happening right now is not new. There are parallels. They've happened before, in different ways, in different levels. Now, this is just the biggest one. So far, this is the biggest. This is the boldest step ever undertaken by the same perpetrators.
You never want a serious crisis to go to waste. And what I mean by that, it's an opportunity to do things that you think you could not do before.
It's now a historical moment, a crucial moment to rebuild the future, to reset our policies.
It's certainly a major crisis, but it also offers us a unique opportunity.
We must use this historical opportunity.
Together we can turn a crisis into an opportunity.
But this global pandemic has also created an opportunity to build back better.
To build back better later.
But also to build back better.
To build back a better world.
To build back better.
We can't just build back, we got to build back better.
And achieve the Sustainable Development Goals.
And climate action is an essential part of that.
This COVID-19, I mentioned to you from the beginning of these series, provided for the globalists their best opportunity yet. They've never had as wonderful an opportunity as this. It provided them the best opportunity yet to bring in the one world government.
The future is not just happening. The future is built by us, by a powerful community as you here in this room. We have the means to improve the state of the world.
We need to accept that there will be some pain in the process. The pace that we need will open up for missteps. It will open up for shortages on energy. It will create inflationary pressures, and maybe we need to start talking about that pain is actually worth it.
The plan was to infiltrate the nations of the world and then take over governments gradually, take over industries gradually, and then institute their own system, because they must crush the nation states and create the religious state. The religious state headed by Satan, Lucifer. It's total control. Total control. And the masses of the people will be so happy. They would love it. They'll think it's going to help them, but it's not going to help them.
The whole agenda is to create a one world government where everybody has an RFID chip implanted in them. All money is to be in those chips, right? There'll be no more cash. And this is getting me straight from Rockefeller himself. This is what they want to accomplish. And all money will be in your chips. And so instead of having cash, anytime you have money in your chip, they can take out whatever they want to take out whenever they want to. If they say you owe us this much money in taxes, they just deduct it out of your chip digitally.
Total control.
Total control. And if you're like me or you, and you're protesting what they're doing, they can just turn off your chip. And you have nothing. You can't buy food. You can't do anything. It's total control of the people.
We can't allow Satan to control our nations. We can't allow Satan to control our cities. We can't allow Satan to determine what happens in our world. Listen, when I said to you, this was their best opportunity yet to establish a new world order. Their best opportunity because they've had the world in a certain position in their minds. But I always said to you, they didn't factor in the church. That was a grievous error. They would have known that this is not the time. Because the church of Jesus Christ is placed here, is here for a reason. We're supposed to be winning souls. We're supposed to establish the kingdom of God in the earth, and that's what we're doing. And until we are done, they can't have that new world order that they seek. They can't have it. You have to understand the timeline of God and God's plan for the world. There are several dispensations planned by God. And it's all clear in the scriptures, from the beginning to the end, how everything is supposed to be. And there is a period of time in which Jesus Christ sets up his own church, and how long that should be. And we are in that day. And he told us the various things that will happen during that period. We are in that period. And during that period, no nation, you know what I tell you? No nation, no group of men, no single man in the earth is given authority over the nations of the world.
For the secret power of lawlessness is already at work, but the one who now holds it back will continue to do so till he is taken out of the way.